Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, July 18th, 2024. The main fire potential impacts for the next couple of days are shown here. We're still looking at thunderstorms being a big player for the next couple of days, Thursday into Friday. We do see some decreasing in our thunderstorm coverage Friday in the west, and then that drier air continues to move in by Saturday. On Friday, we do have some dry thunderstorms expected over the central Idaho mountains, which will be something to look for there, and then some gusty winds, not very gusty, but a little bit higher than normal along the Sierra Front and the central Snake River Plain here this afternoon, in conjunction with some lower relative humidities, and then maybe some gustier winds in eastern Utah on Saturday. Shown here is the past 24 hours of precipitation and lightning activity. We did have a fairly active day for some thunderstorms yesterday over eastern Nevada and into the higher elevations of Utah and then this area in south central Idaho. These storms were accompanied by some locally heavy precip amounts, but anywhere from a few hundredths up to a quarter to a half an inch in some areas, and even slightly higher in very localized areas. Okay, fire activity from yesterday shows we had 21 new fires for 12 acres and just over 1,000 acres for our new large fire growth. These 7-day precip totals on the left don't include the precipitation from yesterday, but we can see that overall trend over the past week with a little bit higher precip over Utah, Nevada, and up into eastern Idaho, western Wyoming. Still very dry over western and central Idaho and northwest Nevada, and even southern Nevada, definitely below normal for the time of year. Northern Utah also has not seen any precip and would normally have seen some by now. Here are our current ERCs. We can see they've been on the decrease over Nevada with some of the precip and higher relative humidities that have been in there somewhat recently. Still pretty higher over Utah as the precip totals have been a little bit lower, and quite high still over much of Idaho where conditions have been perpetually dry. Okay, taking a closer look at a few areas here. The Ruby Mountains in northeast Nevada, we can see those values have decreased over the past couple of days with some precipitation and higher relative humidities there. The forecast is for the values to level out just above normal. And over the Dixie-Bryce area in southern Utah, the values have come below the historical records, below right around the 80th percentile here, and are expected to decrease a bit with continued storminess for the next couple of days. All right, looking at our satellite imagery this morning, we have an area of high pressure centered over generally the Four Corners area. That's allowing moisture to continue to move up into the Great Basin for the next couple of days for continued thunderstorm activity. So for today, high pressure ridge still located to the south and east with moisture underneath, allowing for another day of active showers and thunderstorms over Utah, eastern Idaho, eastern Nevada, and up into southern Idaho. No high risk issued for today. Again, those storms could produce some locally heavy precipitation today over Nevada and Utah. Some isolated, drier type thunderstorms possible over the central Idaho mountains today, and then some gusty winds along the south central Snake River Plain and along the Sierra Front. On Friday, drier air begins to move in from the east for decreasing thunderstorm activity in some of those areas. No significant fire potential triggers. So on Friday, storms still expected in generally the same areas as today, but the coverage will be less. Minimum relative humidities shown here on the right are indicating higher values over the higher elevations of Idaho and Utah, with lower values in the west and along the lower elevations. On Saturday, the ridge sort of strengthens and expands a little bit further northwards for some pretty warm temperatures coming into the north. Still a little bit of moisture lingering under the ridge for some thunderstorms. No high-risk triggers issued for Saturday. The areas where we're expected to see those storms popping up, continuing over central Nevada on Saturday, and then a little bit further north, the northern Wasatch Front on Saturday as well, but decreasing in coverage. Pretty hot across the west on Saturday with a high of 106 in Boise. 3-day precipitation totals are shown here, mainly the higher elevations of Utah and into eastern Nevada, and we're seeing a little bit of some precip chances up into Idaho as well, and western Wyoming. On Sunday, that ridge still located centered over the western half of the Great Basin for continued very hot temperatures over Idaho and especially western Idaho and western Nevada, and some moisture lingering for continued thunderstorms here and there. No significant triggers are issued. On Monday, a trough looks to begin to develop off the coast here, and that will push the bridge just a little bit further south and allow a little bit of moisture, it looks like, into the central Idaho mountains. We may see some isolated storms there, so we'll keep an eye on that. But generally drier elsewhere with just a little bit of moisture underneath the ridge for some afternoon thunderstorms. On Tuesday, that trough is still in place over the Pacific Northwest with the ridge to the south. Wind should still stay fairly light by Tuesday with that ridge in place. Still warm, still dry, still hot, in fact, hot and dry with just, again, continued little bit of moisture underneath the ridge for some thunderstorms, mainly Nevada and Utah. And then on Wednesday, the trough moves a little bit further south and eastward. We could see some breezy winds start to move into Idaho during this time frame with the ridge to the south for continued warm and dry conditions there. These 7-day precip totals look quite similar to the short term, but we do see a little bit of a higher chance of some better precip moving into Utah in the extended. And the extended forecast here for July 25th through the 31st puts above normal temperature for the entire Great Basin, especially over Utah, and near normal chances for precip. This concludes today's briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.